Well, still good morning. Saturday, actually November 11th, so Remembrance Day up here in Canada. Dogs are hot out of bird there. The birds are also fat because they've been eating up the spilled grain that the dogs think they got a chance. Yesterday was totally nuts, absolutely nuts for people coming. We had a ton of molasses totes left yesterday, I think 9, and a ton of bags, 4 or 5, I don't know, 10, 11 or so bags. At one point there was like 5 trucks lined up here, and actually got a little bit frustrated with the fact that the yard isn't the biggest yard in the world, but it's it's big enough if people just park out of the way and get kind of off where they need to be. But it was interesting for me to watch this unfold yesterday, how people just piled in on top of each other, and then they were all chit-chatting around, and I was trying to move around with that telehandler and I couldn't really get in and out anywhere, but nobody was paying attention, so it made for a tense 15 minutes before we could get everything lined up and get people where they needed to be. But whatever, keeps you young, I guess. I did get my separator set up over here. I got to run some power cords over to it. I'm going to run my sunflowers through it because there was some volunteer canola grew in with them sunflowers. And I have a feeling the same size screen that we used to separate the peas will work just dandy to get that canola out of the sunflowers. In the whole scheme of things, having a little bit of canola in there isn't the end of the world, but there's a lot of folks that want no canola in their feed for various reasons, and that's fine. People want what they want, so I just can't knowingly substitute sunflowers in place of canola when I know there's a bunch of canola already mixed in with the sunflowers. So I'm going to move this backhoe out of the way. I'm going to get things fired up, and hopefully in a couple hours we can have their sunflowers cleaned. And I'm curious to know how much canola is actually even in there. That might be an intercropping thing that a guy can do, is grow sunflowers and canola together. So that's I think working pretty good. Seems to be quite a few sunflowers barreling out the end. Whatever's broke, small, junky, is going to fall through that rotary screen up there. I expect this will take a little while. I'm going to run it through really slow so I can do a really good job. I don't want to have to do it twice. And once we get a few, maybe an hour or so through there, I want to grab a sample of that canola and see just how awful it was. So we made the mistake. We didn't spray a broadleaf inside that in those sunflowers. And of course you're very limited because the sunflower, I believe itself, right, is a broadleaf. So you're very limited to what you can even spray. I can't remember exactly what the chemical was, but we only sprayed for wild oats. So we had a bunch of canola and some other stuff growing in there. And the canola was very light and very, very green. And I'm assuming it was probably like 30% moisture when I harvested it. So I'm curious to know what it looks like. I'm assuming it's gonna look like absolute garbage. But I've been surprised before. So there's, as you can see, there's some canola for sure, and there's also a bunch of canola pods and stuff. So hopefully some of that comes out, and we end up with a pretty nice sample of just sunflowers. Well, I'm on to load number 2. I was hoping that some of them pods and that chaff would have fallen through the screen, but it doesn't look like it's going to. It was so windy up there when I was unloading it that it blew a bunch of that out anyways. And one thing about grain, it all goes to the edge. So all of your chaff flows out and looks a lot worse than it is. It's always very deceiving in a combine sample if you're sitting there looking out the window and it starts to go up, you're going to get all that ridge of chaff. But it'll appear that it's really dirty, but it may or may not be. This isn't going as fast as I had hoped, but I don't want to run it through twice. So slow and steady wins the race. I don't think I'm going to get to make any bags today, but if I get this done, that'll be good, because I want to get this wagon cleaned out again in case we get some snow. I think there's supposed to be snow Monday for sure, maybe even a little bit tomorrow. So it's good to get things done and tidied up. That way I don't have to do this in the winter. There's always so many jobs that if you can get them done, and we've been very lucky this fall to have lots of time. Last fall also, when we had our peas and canola to do, we separated them right away, just like this year. Normally we do that throughout the winter, but hopefully we'll have most of the grain handling stuff done before it gets too cold. And then all we got to worry about is checking bin cables up in the bin yard and keeping these feed bins full. Well, good morning. We've shifted into another day. It is Sunday, so I'm going to, normally I would do something else and not fire up the mill, but the kids abandoned us yesterday, so there's nobody here, so I may as well just work, I suppose. So I'm gonna make a few bags, not too many, maybe 5 or 6, and then I wanna go up and just make sure my waters are ready, heaters are on, thermostats are adjusted right. For the incoming cold that's on its way. It's supposed to snow tomorrow, so we want to get that stuff done so we're not doing it in a snowdrift or on the wet snowy ground. Oh man, that got super dark. So my buddy Jeremy just left here. He got some molasses and a lick tank. He's gonna give that a try on his cows this year, and then we were talking about a whole bunch of other things that we could do in the future, so we'll see how all that pans out. But one cool thing, so I showed him that fuel pump, lift pump that I took off the telehandler. I was asking him some stuff about it, and we got digging around in there, and there was actually a big huge chunk of stuff plugged up in the filter. So that pump probably works, it just that sucked it all into like I don't know, whatever it is, a big glob of what was like wet hair. But anyways, that was stuck in there, so that probably I'll probably put that fuel pump on the shelf and stick it away for the future in case this new one craps out right away. For right now though, I gotta walk up to the bins up there in the dark, and it's supposed to start snowing overnight, and we got an aeration fan going on one 10,000 bushel bin, so we can't dry. It's not efficient enough for that, but what we can do is move the heat through the bin. So that's it's amazing with such a low horsepower motor that it does, and I'm guessing it just channels up, but that's the progression, the natural progression of the air. Anyways, it's going to go down the outside, up the middle. So there used to be those center cone things that you could put in your bin to let the vent the heat out. We find putting that fan on and blowing it up gets all the heat from harvest and from the grain that we had dried that we put in that bin. It gets all that moving out, moving through there, and then you're all right. So it is supposed to snow tonight. I want to close the lid over a little bit so the air can still get out but the snow can't get in, and we'll leave the fan going. And then probably sometimes towards the end of the week, once Dad gets that swing wheel auger put back together, what we'll do is we'll take 3 or 4 loads out of that bin because all the air's been moving up. Test that canola because it usually gets a little bit tougher because it moves some of the moisture up too, and then put that in a different bin. Anyways, it's been enough of a day, so as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.